And now I'd like to introduce David Guyton and share some information about his background. David is Executive Vice President of Business Development of In Silico Biosciences, Inc., a Lexington, Massachusetts biotechnology company. David is also the founder and principal of Discovery Centers for Civic Engagement, which is a program that's sponsored in part by MCOA, where through his Discovering What's Next program, he develops and delivers support for people midlife and beyond, often recent retirees who are seeking purpose in their work, engagement in their communities, and balance with their lives. He provides his business expertise as a consultant to nonprofit clients in the areas of strategic planning, capacity building, and marketing, all very relevant today. He delivers strategic guidance to startups and early stage companies. He served as a board member and financial officer of the Girl Scouts of Eastern Massachusetts and co-chaired the annual fund for the Windsor School, where he was also a trustee and corporation member. David holds an MBA from Harvard Business School and a BA in economics from the University of Pittsburgh. David and his wife, Elizabeth, reside in Wellesley, Massachusetts. And now I'll hand this over to David, who will be co-presenting with Robin.
Well, thank you very, very much, Haley. It's been a pleasure to work with you to pull this together, and it's been quite gratifying to see the response. So I'm happy that we have a good crowd here today. Good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to the Fund Development and Website Workshop of the Friends of the COA. We have this program sponsored by the Massachusetts Councils on Aging, and it's developed into something which we hope will be of great value to all of you. So Robin Ryan, Barry Tuber, and I are delighted to lead you through today's event. And this is designed really to inspire the Friends of the COA to raise the bar on fundraising support for your local COAs, and also to offer you a turnkey website to support your activities. As was mentioned, this series was developed and facilitated by some work I've done with the Councils on Aging. And in my work with the COAs, I became acquainted with many leaders and members of the Friends groups. I've truly admired the spirit of support for your COAs that I saw exhibited. However, many of the Friends groups expressed to me that they felt that their support was limited by really the ability to raise funds for their communities, through their communities, and ultimately for the COA. So, working with the MCOA, we developed this Fund Development Website Workshop as a way to assist Friends groups that truly want to make a difference in your communities. So, let's get started. And let's see here. We want to again say welcome. I've had a very nice introduction. Thank you, Haley. And now let me introduce Robin Ryan and in turn Barry Tuber to give a little bit about their backgrounds as well. Robin will be joining me on the first part of this presentation, and Barry will take over on the second half of what is about a 90-minute event. So strap in your seatbelts, and I'll turn it over to Robin to say a little bit about herself.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me? I hope. I'm Robin Ryan. I'm a former fund development professional, having worked for over 30 years in independent schools in the Boston area, and I currently live in Boston. I'm now retired, but I'm serve on two boards in the Boston area as well. So, and David mentioned he was a former trustee and chair of the annual fund at Windsor School, where I worked very closely with David. Is probably one of my best volunteers ever. So.
Thank you, Robin. And Barry, a little bit about your background.
So I'm Barry Tuber. My background is in marketing and IT years ago, which led me to become a web developer where the two things sort of come together. And I've been a freelance web developer for a whole bunch of years. My client base is primarily independent professionals, small nonprofits, and I also do a lot of work for Mass General Brigham for their research centers and research labs. I got involved, I guess, about a year and a half ago now, helping to build the web offering that a couple of you on the call are already running. But I guess a lot of you are potentially interested, or at least interested in learning more about, and I'll be talking more about that at the end of the presentation.
Thank you, Barry. And as with Robin, I've had the occasion to work with Barry on several projects, and you all will be the beneficiary of his expertise. So again, to begin the program, our goals are really to educate, inspire, and motivate. You know, I've had so many times where I've had a wonderful presentation, a good seminar. I get materials, I'll go home and I'll put it on a shelf and never look at it again. That's not what we hope will happen here. We hope at the end of this, you're going to be motivated to take some next steps, and we'll be helping you to define what those could be. For our agenda, we'll first cover, and I'll cover a survey that we've done of the Friends group. So we know a little bit about you, and I'll be sharing that data, and some of it may actually surprise you when I go through it. Robin will talk about why fund development is so important, and then I'll pick up on the strategy, and she'll do, again, stewardship and best practices. We don't want you to get bored, so Robin and I are going to do a tag team here, and you'll have a little bit of me and a little bit of her, and hopefully a little bit of the best of us. We hope at the end of the day, you'll be confident to take those next steps and ready to move forward. Now, here's some of the survey results, what we know about you. First question we asked was, how much in total dollars does your Friends group contribute to your COA? The range on that answer was $1,000 to, believe it or not, $40,000. And these are annual figures. The median value was about $10,000. You know, the values that appeared most often were, believe it or not, on the low end, $2,000, and on the high end, $25,000. Next question was, how does your Friends group offer, or does your Friends group offer, a fixed monthly allotment? The predominant number here is 87% saying no, but obviously all of you are tied into and conversant with your COAs to provide the best support that makes the most sense. And if you did a fixed amount monthly, what was that amount? That ranged from a low of $50 to a high of $1,500, so about $700 was the average. The types of fundraising that the Friends group does was fairly broad. As expected, half of you do annual funds, more than half various fundraising events, and that can be very time-consuming, but still rewarding. About a quarter of you run thrift shops, and in my travels around the COAs, some of those thrift shops are absolutely amazing in terms of the items you collect and obviously the benefit it provides. You know, capital fund endowment funding is not a big thing, but capital fund for special purposes could be a very centering activity of the Friends groups. Oftentimes, about 1 in 3 of you write grants, and that can be a very good source of funds. The size of your Friends group membership, that really depends upon, I think, the definition of membership. So it ranged from 5 to 1,000. Some COA Friends groups actually have everyone who donates automatically becoming a member. Others had certain requirements. What are the categories of those membership groups? Individual donors predominate. Some corporate donors became members, and some non-donor volunteers. Other things that are done there is a golf course that donates all recycling cans and bottles. There are categories of in memory of, in honor of, a corporate match, family donors, and various levels of donations. I think Robin will attest to the benefits of allowing people to strive to reach a higher level, and therefore categorizing the donations is helpful. Few, but some said we don't have memberships. In terms of stewardship or donor retention, recruitment of volunteers is high on the list, as is working with the COA management and staff on planning and programming. Thank you events for donors and volunteers. Many of the Friends groups do that for their own volunteers, and some even participate in the COA thank yous. But certainly, you know, to manage or get help with acknowledgement of donations, it was important there too. The annual report, which of course is required of a 501c3 that the Friends groups are, is also a great place and a way to do stewardship. And on the last page here, we asked also a series of questions where one was, do you least agree with this statement? And 5, do you most agree with the statement? The first had to do with the board. And these are typically board members, Friends group members answering these questions. Do you have a committed, engaged, effective leadership as a resource? 3.6 on average. In terms of growth, it was generally and strongly felt that the Friends of COA should expand your fundraising and should support the COA more broadly. In terms of advancement, can we raise the bar? Can we diversify funding sources? Less sure of that, which is why we thought also the kind of information we'll be providing today in terms of fund development, fundraising could be very helpful. And finally, do you have the capacity to use additional technology and more people resources? Again, that was the answer that came out from the Friends group. So all of these things, I think some of the answers may be a surprise to you. Some of them may be reflecting you very well. But we think this was good to set the stage for launching into understanding maybe the environment also that we're working in. We can't control that environment necessarily, but we can do things to reach out in that environment. That's why the final part of this presentation, having to do with the website, is also an important component in your planning. So let me now turn it over to Robin, and I'll be forwarding the slides, and Robin will now take us through fund development, fundraising, and many aspects of it. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon again. Just back to some basics. Fund development is often referred to as the process of cultivating and stewarding donors and volunteers versus fundraising, which is the actual operational aspect of raising the funds. So fund development is oriented towards providing future income, and it's the process of creating and enhancing current and potential donor relationships. It also involves understanding your donor's priority, what's important to them, as well as donor recognition and retention. Fundraising focuses on the now, which is the actual bringing in the dollars to your organization, and it's the process of income generation through program implementation. If you only do fundraising, you make it more difficult to ensure future financial volunteer support for your COA. So the fund development is a key part of fundraising. The charitable giving landscape, David and I thought it would be interesting for you all to see some trends since 2020. Contributions to nonprofits have actually overall increased by 15%. And you can see the breakdown here. The majority, 64%, is coming from individuals. Foundations are important, as are corporate gifts. And then 9% is coming from what we consider requests, which is people who've arranged for providing for your COA and their estate plans. The importance of fund development. It's a source of mission critical income for COA program and operation. It broadens your COA base of support and increases attendance. Importantly, it builds community. It supports your COA's narrative. and it promotes the value of your COA, and it combats ageism. What kinds of fund development do you do? Donor cultivation is your North Star, very key component. Stewardship helps build support. Volunteer appreciation, again, very important. Measurement tracks results, and we will talk more about that. Investments protect reserves for distribution to your COA. And strategic planning ensures the COA's mission, people size, and volunteer-centric support meets the needs of your community. Okay, types of fundraising. An annual fund. I think David's statistic shows that I believe 58% of you all have an annual fund. You may do fundraising events such as auctions, speaker nights, casino nights. I think 20-some% of you all have a thrift shop. We encourage you where you can to incorporate challenge grants or matching grants in your yearly fundraising. And as I said, plan giving involves estate planning, which many of your volunteers and donors may do. Make a bequest. Some people make the COA a beneficiary of an IRA as well. And then there may be special projects for special needs that you all may do on a one-time basis, such as purchase of a van, landscaping for your buildings, furnishings, maybe building repairs. All of these may be an immediate urgent need. And then as David also mentioned, capital fundraising is for equivalent analogy people often use is your annual fund is your checking account, and a capital fund is your savings account. And that might be a multi-year project, maybe for a new building or a much larger project, or to set up an endowment program for your COA. Changing patterns of donations. In the current environment, many organizations, nonprofits, colleges, and schools are seeing a shortage of staffing. Inflation squeezes family budgets and raises COA and other costs to operate. Tax policies are changing. Heightened reliance on larger donors, more donors that can make larger gifts, major gifts to your organization. Corporation and foundation giving is increasing, which is great. And then higher interest rates are impacting older donors. Charitable giving positively in many ways. Many people are setting up donor advised funds, and electronic ways of giving are increasing. People are getting more comfortable with giving online. Some people even use Venmo for making gifts. We encourage you to think big. Thinking about striving to increase your fundraising puts you out there with your community. It strengthens your resolve and your self-confidence. It crushes stereotypes. It demonstrates your initiative and your resilience. It generates positive results for your COA. One thing you may want to look at as you begin an effort is what's the readiness assessment of your friends group? Resources. Do you have a designated fund development fundraising leader, a board member or another volunteer within your organization? Do you have designated fundraising committee members? You might want to increase to have a small group that will help with fundraising. And then do you have the technology to organize outreach, including a fully functional website? COA relationships. Have you cultivated your director and COA managers? I saw from the results of the survey that many of you all already actively do this. Do you have agreements on uses of your funds, special events, or fixed amounts? And is there a good two-way information sharing between the Friends group and your director and managers? David will talk more about this, but certain things that you'll need to do as you develop a fund development and fundraising strategies are to plan for the plan. It's very important to establish goals and objectives and to determine an action plan with responsibility and timelines. Measurement and evaluation are very important tools. Make a commitment to track your results, whether it's event to event and year over year. Multiple yardsticks, dollars raised, repeat donors, trends that you're seeing, all key to your success. And share your challenges and successes with other friends groups. You may want to set up a Facebook group among yourselves, or Barry may talk about a new technology called Slack, which may give you all an opportunity to share your own successes and challenges. So, and most of all, have fun and enjoy your friends of COA volunteer experiences. David will tell you as a volunteer, and I've been a fundraising volunteer, it's really exciting and often inspirational.
It certainly is, and thank you, Robin. I'm going to be talking about planning. And the thing I find about planning is many people shy away from it. They think it's complicated, it's time-consuming, it's difficult, and none of the above really has to be the case. It can be as simple as some people planning on the back of an envelope, or it could be as complicated as using technology to help do it. But the point is, the process of developing the plan is actually as important as the plan itself. Why? It provides this framework for your fundraising program. It fosters ownership, not only among your board, but also your members. And that really translates into understanding not only why you're involved in this and spending time in it, but how you're going to do it. I love that previous slide with the fish going from the small bowl to the big bowl, because it really states the importance of thinking big and connecting that big picture with some action. At the end of the day, you want to create alignment. Your strategic plan has to be aligned with your needs. By doing this, you're promoting confidence amongst yourselves, but also producing results. So let's just accept the fact then, planning takes time, but it will save time overall. Part of the identification of the need is determining, is this need an opportunity? Is it a problem? Well, short-term needs of the COA, you'll be able to probably very accurately identify a dollar amount and timing. Could involve anything from supporting programming, providing furnishings, maybe reupholstering something, equipment needs, special requests of the director, or even supporting Meals on Wheels. And I'm sure you have others that come to mind. How do you do this? Annual fund is what allows you to really support these kinds of events, even helping you to fund a need. And that could also be a separate activity from the annual fund, but also to support your thrift shop and other things. Now, longer term needs of the COA, where you might provide full or partial funding, could be, and I'm always impressed when I found the number of friends groups that have actually supported the purchase and operation of the COA's van. The good news about the long-term funding is the creation of an endowment fund. If you set aside some funds, it's one thing to live year to year with the annual fund, but it's another thing to do that, but also to have the savings account, if you will, as represented by the endowment fund. By doing really good investing of that annual fund, you could also, for example, throw off maybe 5% of the balance of the capital there per year, and still not have your endowment fund being reduced in size. So typically, though, these are longer term, multi-year, multi-type of investment of fundraising efforts, the capital campaign, or even grants that could support that. For those who want to do a fixed monthly amount, that's an agreement with the COA director, but also those needs, those opportunities or problems could be you providing the funding for unexpected or emergency needs, or on the positive side, for opportunities. To begin the discussion of fundraising strategy, I'd like to quote a couple of people, one I don't know and one I do know. But Yogi Berra famously said, among his many malapropisms, said, if you don't know where you're going, you'll end up someplace else. That doesn't really explain much, but it does also explain a lot about how people operate without plans. A business school professor of mine said, if you don't know where you're going, and this is a takeoff on Yogi, I think, any road will take you there. So that's also the worst place you want to be. But what we're going to talk about is looking at your mission, goals, objectives, and the action plans that get set in motion. Your mission statement, really worth sitting down and stating succinctly, but in a way profoundly. Here's an example. The Friends Group enriches our community's COAs with volunteers and funding that support high-quality programming and social services, which make a difference in the lives of our older adults. You can borrow that one if you want, or use it as a launch pad for developing your own. But the creation of the mission statement is really where it all begins. That leads to goals, because the goals elaborate on the mission, describing what the Friends Group hopes to accomplish at a higher level. Goals lead to objectives. These are derived from the goals, and they delineate the specific ideas about how to achieve the goals. They're measurable, they're concrete. I'll be showing you some examples of all of these. Finally, the tactics. These are the action steps you'll take to achieve your objectives, and they usually go along with tagging someone to be responsible for it and putting some timelines on that. Here are some sample goals and objectives. In the handout, by the way, or the takeaway that you'll be receiving after this presentation, we have a fund development strategy template that includes formats for you to use that will help guide you through this process. So your first goal might be a strategic one, educating your community and increasing awareness of your your COA and, of course, of the friends of the COA. But you want to develop a value proposition here. You want to raise marketing in your community and raise, at the end of the day, brand awareness of your activities, and engage stakeholders. Now, these could be individuals, these could be corporations, they could be the Rotary in your town, they could be any number of organizations also that you could outreach to and cultivate. Another goal certainly should be financial. Zero in on a dollar amount, zero in on when you want to accomplish that fundraising objective. So then you want to determine, these are the objectives under the goal, which fundraising campaigns are going to produce the highest returns. That's why, as Robin said, the measurement side of it is important, so that you can, in a way, understand where your greatest return is going to be. You want to prioritize those returns and then assign responsibilities, track results, and evaluate. A third goal could be operational, utilizing technology to improve results. Top of the list, develop a website. Some of you may have a website already, but maybe you don't have the links to automated ways for people to pay or to make good on their commitment. This is something that a new website could accomplish for you, or an adjustment to your website could realize. Recruiting Friends members to serve as administrators, certainly, and also ensuring that your donor data are updated and you can review that for mining opportunities. In terms of some websites, and we did find this in our survey results, at least half of you out there, as of the last look, did not have a website. So this is a great opportunity coming up to really make that happen. A fourth goal could be organizational. You want to make your membership experience the best it can possibly be. You want to grow your organization to better support the COA, define what it means to be a member, how they can connect to your group, Certainly ensure members are invited to the Friends Group annual meeting so that they're all aware and feel a part of the process. And acknowledging all members for their contributions, whether they're financial or strictly volunteer. A fifth goal under the category of fund development is to increase stewardship. And this is something that fits very well into strategic planning because it's all about donor acquisition, donor retention. It's making that effort work harder for you each year through communications that are strategic, by inviting donors to become members, and certainly always thanking donors for their gifts and prospective donors for their consideration. So I would recommend no more than 5 goals because that's a good number to handle. But these are examples that you could use to make your efforts all they can be. A few tips. Goals, as I say, elaborate on the mission. Make your target large enough to inspire and motivate. Setting goals that have a range of impactful areas for development because you never know which one is going to catch fire. Aspire to set goals that will make a difference. And also goals are these higher level ideas about how to achieve your mission. The objectives derived from the goals should be specific, measurable, meeting time, budget, and quality parameters, and actionable. The tactics, the action items then that you will develop and you will execute will enable you to meet your objectives. Now let me turn it back to Robin to take us beyond the basics into stewardship.
Okay, I think David touched on in his last couple of slides how important stewardship is, particularly for fund development and for fundraising. It keeps your donors, especially your most loyal and newest, informed about your programs, your successes, and your challenges. And it acknowledges the importance of your donors' involvement and support. It keeps your members, your donors, your volunteers connected to your COA, and it will encourage them and inspire them to make your COA a priority among the organizations they support. Examples of stewardship for both volunteers and donors: phone calls or a visit to thank for a gift or extra volunteering, a phone call to share an exciting event or a success. Ask your donors and volunteers for their input on your programs and ask them why they support or get involved with your COA. Use a story or a quote for an appeal or for your website. Ask donors and volunteers if they could be profiled on your website or in a newsletter. You might extend a special tour, insider's tour of your COA. Many of you may already do this, have an annual luncheon or an evening gathering to thank your volunteers. And if you have buy a van or open a new room or something special, invite people to a ribbon cutting and invite larger donors to join your friends membership group if they're not already a member. And most of all, be creative. You all will come up with some other great ideas, I'm sure. Best practices of stewardship. Align your fundraising programs with your COA's needs. Develop fundraising priorities. Recruit leaders from your membership and staff each fundraising program with members. Engage your Friends Group board as leaders and as donors. I cannot understate how important it is to have 100% participation from your board. Encourage your Friends members to be early donors, and you might want to think about an annual theme or story as you reach out to people for gifts. Donor outreach, just important known fact is most of your gifts may come between September and December each year. Many people make donations at calendar year end. Employ multiple channels. You may do direct mail, emails, telephone visits. You be creative, but get the message out. To the extent possible, segment your donors. David mentioned this. If you have different levels from donors broken down at different levels from your most generous donors down to your most regular donors, you may want to do a special letter for each group. Donors, remember that donors will give whenever and whatever they can give. It's their choice. And cultivate your donors for repeat and recurring gifts. I cannot underestimate the importance of your most loyal donors to your organization. And consider extending fundraising to include grants from local civic organizations and businesses. Many of you all are already doing this, but that's another important key aspect. Plan for success. As David touched on, have a mission, have a goal, objectives, tactics, and an action plan. Create, as part of your planning, it's important to create a calendar of fundraising activities and appeals that you can follow through during the course of a year. It's important to develop a donor database and to build on it each year, adding new donors and new volunteers, and create a top-notch, fully functional Friends of COA website, which Barry's going to talk about with you all. Make available multiple ways to give. Certainly some people still write checks, but more and more people are moving to PayPal, Venmo. IRA distributions are becoming more and more important. You can give up to, I think it's $100,000 a year directly from your IRA, but your administrator of your IRA has to make the gift on your behalf. If you can give a gift of stock, and donor advised funds are more and more becoming more and more important to donors. One-time gifts and a recurring monthly gift. You may be aware, like WBUR and GBH encourage people to give maybe even $10 a month. It adds up quickly. It's important to create and track your metrics. This will help you evaluate the effectiveness of each of your programs, and it'll also help you evaluate what trends you're seeing within your community. Technology. Barry I'll probably help with this as well with under the website. It's important to have a way to manage your donor data, both your database and the donations that are coming in, and you might use QuickBooks. There's something called Salesforce. QuickBooks might be helpful for donation tracking and recording. Google search is something you might want to use to find out more about your donors and volunteers. You might be able to find out where else they give donations and what appears to be their priority. Many of you all may use this MailChimp or Constant Contact for maintaining donor lists and also for reaching out to your donors and your volunteers. And within your Friends group, you might want to think about particularly if you have a leadership, have a fundraising committee, thinking about using Google Workspace, which is a way that you can share your donor database and your plans, your calendar. You can share it among your group. I found it's a really effective way. Success factors, sorry. Above all, remain positive, have fun, keep an open mind, stay connected with each other, with your COA management, remain curious. Don't be afraid of taking new directions when you hit a challenge. And importantly, remain flexible, be financially aware of your COA needs in your community, listen to your donors, and be realistic, but be resolute. Above all, as David said, plan. And it's also important to celebrate your success. You can never thank a donor too much or too often. It's really important to thank those who participated in fund activities, both your donors and your volunteers. Fundraising is not a once and done proposition. As we said, fundraising ties into fund development. It's an ongoing process. And make fundraising a year-round, multi-year program.
Thank you, Robin. That was a good way for us to look at the kinds of activities that really drive any nonprofit organization, and particularly, I think, the Friends of the COAs. The need to understand the fund development basics and how to get on that road to success through cultivation, through planning, and through good execution. We talked about the plan for the plan and how the fund development activity is a process. It's something that will engage you. It will bring your group together as an organization and lead you to the kind of fundraising that's going to optimize the work you're doing on behalf of the COAs. The best practices, understand we're always learning, we're always growing and seeking continuous improvement. So by providing you this set of slides after this workshop is over, you'll have a roadmap that you can refer to, perhaps use for discussion among your board or perhaps among your whole membership to launch a number of activities that are going to be really, really beneficial. Thank you, Robin, for your involvement in this. And we certainly, again, thank the MCOA for their support of these efforts. Now, I'm going to turn the program over to Barry Tuber, who's going to take us through the website development process, the template that he has developed, all of this in support of the Friends Group's activities. Barry, you're control, I think, of the slide deck.
Yeah, so I just wanted to check in to see, are there any questions that people want to
Well,
address?
yeah, maybe we can address a couple of the questions that did come up on this segment, and
Yeah.
there weren't a ton.
Yeah.
And I'm admitting someone right now, but also thank you. A lot of you responded to my request in the chat that you put your name and the town that your COA and your friends organization is in the chat. So if you haven't done that and you can do that, please do. I can't count them quickly to see if you're all accounted for. Thank you. And I'm gonna scroll up to a couple of the questions. One was related to caps on bank accounts. And okay, here it is. Roberta Ennis wrote, is there a cap for your savings account or your checking account or both? And Roberta, are you asking if there is a maximum amount that those accounts can hold? And you can unmute yourself and answer that if you want. I just want to make sure that we are understanding the question. But at any rate, if someone wants
Yeah.
to answer
I
that,
would just
Oh,
say
it
as
is?
a general response to that, clearly, if you're in a situation where you're concerned about caps on accounts, I would suggest shunting some of those excess funds over to a longer term investment vehicle, which you're clearly able to do as a 501c3, and then that could form the basis for the development of an endowment fund.
Okay, thank you.
But there isn't any, to my knowledge, there isn't any legal maximum to the amount that can be held in those accounts by a 501c3.
None that I'm aware of.
Okay. The next question is Michelle Peterson is asking to hear a little bit more about annual funds in general.
Robin, you'd be a good one to take that.
Do you have specific questions? Just the annual fund generally is something that's done on an annual basis, and it often provides operating income, like it may be a way to support a specific program that you want to fund, that your friends group would fund.
So I'm new been here a year and a half, so I'm not sure. Is that something I set up or the friends set up, the annual fund? That's not sure.
David and Haley are more familiar with.
Michelle, you're a COA staff member?
I'm a director.
Okay.
I'm just new in my role.
Yeah, well, hi, welcome to the network. You would not be setting that up.
Okay.
Even though the friends groups exist to support the COA, they're separate entities, and so you do not have the ability, or it's not advisable for you to set that up.
That's what I thought. When you said it, I just want to make sure, because sometimes lingo is said and I'm not. I just wanted to. That's exactly right. They have their own account, all of that, and they get interest and whatnot. But okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I do see that, who has a question? I'm just not seeing the name. Sorry.
seen
A
the-
hand
I've
is
seen the ra-
raised.
Yeah, raised
Oh,
hand
Rita?
from Rita, yeah.
Rita, do you go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question? I don't know. Rita, can you hear us? I'm inviting you to go ahead and ask your question. Also, if we miss this opportunity, you can type it into the chat and we can address it later in this program or after the fact. Okay, Peg Davis is asking, I believe there is an upper limit to, or is stating, I believe there is an upper limit to fund amount after which you have to fill out more complex tax forms.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have any, maybe
Yeah.
Robin, do you have some insight on
No,
that?
actually, we just ran across this, I'm involved with a park conservancy in Boston, and we just ran into this because we're now the beneficiary of over, I think, just under or just at $50,000, and we have to file different tax forms, I think. So as a
Okay, so-
501(c), but that's something that a tax advisor could help with. So.
Yeah, that's a good point too. And maybe getting a tax advisor might
Right.
be something that didn't occur to everyone that they could benefit from.
Right.
Robert Briscoe, would you like to ask your question?
Yes, our accounting, I had them checked because we're building a new senior center and, we're looking for donations. We do a lot of fundraising. And I had talked to him about how much money we could have in the account. And he said, well, you can have as much money as you want in the account. However, when you exceed like $100,000, there's more paperwork, there's more forms that need to be filled out to really explain, what that's all about. So there is some more things you have to do, and if you have a accountant that you work with, you could work with him. He'll help you out with it.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you, Robert.
Yeah.
Michelle, I'll go ahead and ask a question.
Hi, so recently we had asked the friends to, we had someone that, for instance, an example was like, they needed trash pickup, and there's other things, but that's one example. And they were really reluctant to pay for it because it's ongoing. They did end up doing it, but every time we get to individuals needing kind of support in the community, they really just say, well, that's not something we do. And my friends group, I think, is fortunately also not recruiting any new members. It's just a lot of stuff. I mean, I think they mean well, but I feel like they don't really know. So the more I can kind of maybe help guide them a little bit. So I'm just asking that question. Is that accurate? And if it's not, what kind of response could I give them?
Do you mind if I take this? It's a kind of, it can be, I mean, at times your vision for what you want help with and their vision will not be the same, and they do have financial autonomy. So they absolutely have the right to say, no, that's not what we want to support. However, their mission is to support the COA, and most often friends will interpret that as being supportive of the wishes of a director. The MCOA will be developing a guide for friends. We just did a really great refresh of our guide for board members, which I think is very illuminating and helpful and helps clarify those relationships. And Michelle, I'm also going to connect you with my colleague at MCOA, Donna Popkin, who is a longtime director in Eastern Mass and has just a wealth of knowledge about friends relationships. So if you don't mind, I'll connect you two, and she will have a lot of thoughts to share on that and how to, just kind of encourage the right kind of supportive relationship, and maybe even dispel any sort of antagonisms that could arise.
Yeah, and I think part of it is, I think they're better now because I've been here a year and a half and there was some trust, and I get that. It takes a little while.
Right.
Feel comfortable
that.
with me. So I've noticed lately that they're like, oh, you're doing a great job. And I ask for money and they're like, sure. And they don't even ask.
Yeah,
So
you've earned
right,
some
what
trust.
happened?
And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
But like
That's
when
a
I
great
asked them
point.
to do like a table at our health fair, because they really need new members, and even one of them wants to get off but can't because they don't have enough people. They're like, what do we need to do that for? And I'm like, oh my God, so it's great. Anyway,
Yep.
Thank you.
thank you.
I getcha. Well, thanks, Michelle, for bringing those points up. I will, as I said, I'll connect you with Donna and she'll have great thoughts to share with you.
Thank you.
And Robert, did you want to chime in again?
Yes, I did. I've been with the Friends for about 8 years and have been an officer for those 8 years, different positions. But one thing that's very clear is to me and to the group is the relationship that you have with COA and the director and the town manager and the select board. So by working closely with them and identifying, what we're trying to do, letting them know what our mission statement is, and was finding out what the COA's needs are and the director's needs are. And what is the town? It's like I heard that about picking the trash up or whatever. That's not that to me is not a friend's responsibility. Not that you wouldn't help if it was getting out of hand to at least clear it up, because you can't have that stuff hanging around. But that's the town's position. That's the town. They own the building and they need to maintain the building and maintain the safety and whatever the building. So I just think that we've worked on relationships, kept them aware of what we're doing, why we're doing it, and we have a good relationship with our director and the COA. Matter of fact, we go to all the COA meetings, and we work with them, tell them what we're doing, and ask them their needs, and it's just a good working relationship with them. So I don't know if that's helpful to people or not, but that's what we've done, and it seems to work very well.
Yes, I think the idea of having a good connection not only enables the Friends group to make a better assessment of what the needs are that they can support, but also, to provide whatever help, maybe psychic as well as financial, to the COA.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm thinking, and I'm just looking at the time, and I'm thinking we might want to segue now to Barry. And again, if we haven't gotten to your question and you want to put it in the chat, I'll do my best in real time to respond. And furthermore, we can follow up later. So thank you so much, though. Great conversation.
Thank you. Again, let me introduce
okay,
Barry again to take over the
Yeah, so I can take it from
development
here.
process.
Yeah, okay. All right, so, and I'm assuming you can see the slides that I've got up, the continuation of the deck that
I
we started
can.
with before. Yeah.
I see it.
Okay, so let's take a step back again and let's sort of recap why your group exists. You have a mission that's around supporting the group of your local council on aging, and some of your goals in support of that mission have to do with fund development and fundraising, recruitment of volunteers, encouraging engagement with your group and with the COA and participation in general, promoting the programs and activities that are organized. And you may have, more specific, goals or other goals that you want to emphasize. But the basic idea is that you have a set of goals that are in support of your mission. And as David laid out, and you have the guides to kind of help you to refer back to, it's extremely important in general, and also as it relates to the website, that you formulated a strategy and objectives for each of those goals that you've identified that you want to prioritize. So I can't say enough how important that strategy development is. And, a lot of the conversation so far has been around fund development, fundraising, which is extremely important, but you may also be formulating strategy and goals around some of those other objectives, that are listed on that slide. there's been talk about a fully functional website that's been mentioned a couple of times. Think of the website as the place where the implementation of your strategy happens. It's the place where your website is the place where it's the first place that anybody who wants to learn more about your group and the work that you do goes to visit. It's a place to articulate your mission. And when you think back to the goals, the website is a place to offer calls to action in support of raising funds, recruiting volunteers, encouraging engagement and participation, and promoting the programs and activities that you're organizing or supporting. So the website is sort of the place where your action plan around the strategy is realized in terms of things that people can do to support it. So we're talking today specifically about an offering for websites for friends groups. That's a product that I've developed. My company is personalcto.net, and I've mentioned I'm a freelance web developer. My clients are mostly small to medium nonprofits, along with some others. The website is built on WordPress, which is an open source content management system that last time I checked is the foundation that accounts for about 40% of the websites in the world. So it's extremely widely used, and that's a good thing in terms of how well it's supported, and potentially also how many people are familiar with it who might hopefully be among your membership. The offering that I have built basically includes a set of customized content and templates that was built with friends groups in mind. So we did some analysis and surveys that David and other conversations that we've had to determine what kinds of things might typically be the things that friends groups are concerned about, and then basically offer an off-the-shelf version of that within WordPress. From a technology point of view, the sites are hosted in a high-performance WordPress hosting environment, so the performance is pretty good, and there's good support from the hosting company for the technical backend. I'm the liaison for supporting the technical infrastructure and also supporting the specific things that I built on top of the WordPress platform. And in addition to WordPress, there are other content management tools that are relatively easy to learn that would enable you as the site administrator of your own site to maintain your own content. And so that's sort of the model, that I would support the back end and that you would learn the tools and then be able to maintain your content yourself going forward. So I'm going to stop talking in abstract about this, but I'm going to take you through looking at a couple of sites that are out there that are live or demo sites. We have a starter template that's sample.friendscoa.org. The first site that we took live about a year ago was from the Westport Friends Group. And then the site that went live most recently, and that's Bob Briscoe's site who asked a couple of questions and is on the call today, is the Norton Senior Center Group. So I'm going to switch my screen share to show you some of the websites. Okay. So what you're hopefully seeing now is the sample website. And this, if you were to sign up for a site for this for your own group tomorrow, this would be what you would start out with. which basically would be kind of a fully built out website under your own domain name. You know, so example, I live in Waltham, so if you were the Waltham Friends Group, your site URL would be waltham.friendscoa.org. So it's all under the friendscoa.org domain umbrella, but you have your own site, your own subdomain that makes your site completely separate from everybody else's. You can see that we've got banner graphics on the homepage. We can use your own pictures. There's stock photography that I have that's available, and that these pictures can be swapped out pretty easily. Your mission statement, can go at the top. And then we've got some kind of call to action blocks that let you link to things about your programs and projects under the umbrella of what you do. Under who you are, it talks about your mission, the history of your group, a place to highlight your board members if you want to do that, and then various ways to get involved. To support by becoming a member, a place to volunteer, or ways to make a financial contribution. There's also a donate button at the top of every page. So this is kind of, what we have on the homepage that kind of summarize some of the, key content that's available throughout the site. And the same content is available, from the navigation. So you can see a page featuring highlighting the individual programs, and you would build that out with your own programs, and I'll show you that on some of the live websites. And again, projects and events. Look, I'll show you that on a live website. And then on your resources page would be a page that actually, let's jump over to Norton. Let's jump over to Westport. If you look at the programs on the Westport site, you can see that they've listed support for their senior center. So there's a page highlighting a summary of what they consider relevant to talk about with the senior center. In their case, they wanted to feature a photo gallery for each of their programs, and that's the way we did that on their site. And you can see the same sort of thing, for their gardens and landscaping program, where that's one of the programs that in the gardens lend itself well to the photography. The resources section, shows the same kind of thing where the different resources that are featured. And in this case, there's a summary of the organization that they're partnering with, and then a link to that organization's website. Then there's a calendar of events that's available, which it doesn't look like it's particularly active at the moment. And their About Us page, talks about, there's a description of their organization. They've got in Westport, they've got a pretty detailed page about the history of how the Friends Group came to be with some milestones. They've got a page featuring their board, and that can include pictures of the board members if you want to do that. There's a news page which can highlight news items or other news that you want to publicize. A frequently asked question page, which can be customized with questions and answers. And if you look at the Norton website, you've got some of the same content. In the case of Norton, they wanted to emphasize some things differently and in a different way. So we were able to accommodate, what they wanted within the template, and obviously with a different design, customized with Norton's logos and colors, as opposed to the other website. There's a certain amount of flexibility that's available to change the template and also enter the content in a way that suits what your organization wants to communicate in support of your goals and objectives. Okay, good to continue, or any urgent questions, Haley? You're muted. You're still muted. Okay, you're muted, but I'm assuming I'm good to go.
Oh, sorry. Hi.
So,
Barry, I
jumping
think you
back
just have,
to the presentation.
Barry, did you already share pricing structure and I missed it?
No, I'm getting to that.
Okay, great.
Yeah, okay, we're going to get to that pretty quickly. Everybody wants to know how much it costs. Okay.
Shocking.
Yes. All right, so we looked at some live demos, and then in the slide deck, there's this slide, which I'm not going to go through. Oh, okay. I didn't show you when we were looking at the live website what the donation form looks like, and actually, let me jump back to that because that's probably worth showing you what those things look like. So you've got a become a member form, which is a place to, well, in the case of Norton, they decided not to do a form on the website to do membership, but Westport has well, it doesn't have a volunteer form. So on the sample site, there's a volunteer form. No, there's none. Okay, well, there is a contact form that basically lets people put in their information and say what they are interested in hearing back from, and then you'll get notification about that. In Westport, the contact, I'm sorry. But the form can be customized. So if you wanted to have, specific things called out as being things they can express an interest in, that can be done from the contact form. And you can also have a form on the website that would let you sign up for your email marketing service if you decide to do that. Your donation form basically is a place where you can have an individual donation, or this will also be set up for a recurring donation at whatever frequency you want to have. And then the form captures the information about the donor, and then it's connected to a credit card payment gateway that would allow online payment with a credit card. And this could also be connected to PayPal if you wanted to use PayPal instead of or in addition to credit cards. But basically, this would be kind of, what a form might look like for capturing donations from your site visitors. All right, now I'm going to go back to, and again, there's a slide in the slide deck that outlines the overview of the content, and you've got the links to the sites that we talked about here, so you'll be able to look at those on your own. Okay, so let me just recap. If you decide to move ahead with your site, what are the keys to making your site succeed? And the first, again, is to have a plan. Decide what the objectives you have for your site, and then what are the messages and content that you want to put up on your site in support of the goals and objectives relating to your mission. It's also important to put together an implementation team to gather and write the content, to find the photography that you'll be putting up on the site. If possible, find people within your group who have WordPress experience, and that implementation team, hopefully with an experienced WordPress member, would be the group that I'd be working with to get your site up and running. You'll have access to training materials to learn how to use the content management system tools to enter and maintain your content, but you need to expect that you're going to have to spend some time learning how to use those tools through reading and online training, and that's also going to be critical to your success. The implementation, basically the onboarding process, there's a place to sign up to express your interest, and the link to that form is here. Once you've signed up, you'd want to start gathering your content and your graphics, and having done your plan that tells you, what that is going to be related to. Go through the training for your content managers. You'll need to go through a process of signing up for third-party accounts with the credit card payment gateway, which is a company called Stripe, or with PayPal, or with Venmo, or whatever other payment gateway you want to use if you don't already have access to one. And then with the email marketing service like Constant Contact or MailChimp, if you want to offer people the ability to sign up for your email newsletter through the website. I recommend that if you have the bandwidth to generate content on a regular basis, that's a great way to get your messages out in support of fund development and fundraising and just your general overall activities. If you wanted to have email accounts for your board or other members to use under your website domain, we can do that. And so that would be part of the ongoing onboarding process if you wanted to do that. And then the actual loading of, I would create the site for you with your template, and we'd go through the exercise of loading your content in. Once your site is fully loaded, and while it's up and running, it would be sort of in a maintenance mode, so it wouldn't be public, but once it's fully loaded and ready to go, we would make it live and visible to the public. We would submit a sitemap to Google Search Console so the search engines would see that it's out there, and also connect your site to Google Analytics, which provides you a reporting tool about visitor traffic and what pages that people are visiting and how much time they're spending on it. Things that you can look at periodically to let you know what content is working and what's not. That's a very useful tool to help you manage your site going forward. Again, once you're up and running, ongoing support. The website offering is designed to be largely self-supporting, that you would be the ones making your content update. The payment systems that you signed up for would be under your ownership, and I would just have developer access to them so I could connect them to the website. I will support the technical infrastructure, which include software updates to WordPress and the other plugins that make up the website. We could set you up with access to a Slack channel. Slack is a messaging tool, so if we wanted to, we could invite all of the friends groups that have websites to be part of a Slack channel, so you could collaborate, you could ask questions with each other and help each other out based on your own experience with having a site up and running. Or you could potentially have a Slack channel that's would be set up for you to communicate with your own members. Slack is a free tool if it doesn't retain history beyond 90 days of the message archive. And if you want to pay, if you want to pay the fee, that could be a permanent place for your messaging. But it might be a good way, to ask a casual question among other people that already have a site up and running. I'm available beyond supporting the infrastructure to do customization or implement other needs for your website beyond what's delivered to you on day one. And, that, might, depending on what it is, require, a separate project that you would pay for separately. And then I'm always available for consultation. And I'm also available for consultation if, you have your own website that you want to do some enhancements to, that are not using, the offering that we're offering here. I support, multiple clients, mostly in WordPress, but in other platforms too. Okay. Answering a critical question, how much does this cost? So to do the onboarding process to get your site up and running, which includes all the things that we talked about, that's a one-time fee of $500. And that will basically, get your site up and running, get your help getting your content loaded, get you access to the training, do what other technical setup needs to be done. Once your site is up and running, then there's a monthly or an annual charge, depending on your preference for how you want to pay, that covers the hosting of the website and my time in managing the back-end infrastructure and any quick troubleshooting that may come up and support for content entry. And that's set up priced at $30 a month or $360 a year if you prefer to pay a year ahead. So that's basically your cost. That's kind of the overview. Your next steps are create the plan for what you want your website to achieve. Go through the strategy, the planning exercise, so that you're clear about what you want your website to do and what content you want to have on it. Assemble your team, sign up for your site so that we can get you in the pipeline and get you started with the onboarding process, get you access to the training tools so that you can begin the process of learning how to use them, and then gather your content. And
Thank you,
hopefully
Barry.
that has given you a sense of the offering that's available and what you have to do to get started if you're interested. I will pause for questions or other remarks from Haley or David.
Thank you, Barry. A couple of questions have accumulated that I will voice. This from Peg Davis. Okay, so if a friends group already has a website, are you able to work with that, or are you really only offering this particular template and not necessarily adaptations or add-ons to an existing site?
So in my capacity as a web developer, outside of just the question of my supporting this particular offering, I support other clients who have websites or that I build other websites for clients. So if you have an existing website that you don't have somebody working with you currently, but you have some things you want to do to your website, I'm certainly open to a conversation and can provide a quote for that. And again, most of the sites I do are WordPress. I've also done sites with Drupal or other content management systems. So if you have a web need that is not currently supported, I'm available for a conversation about that, and then we can see where that goes.
Great. As a follow-up, Peg had an interesting question too. She was wondering about the differentiation between the Council on Aging website and the Friends website, and maybe you have some general thoughts on this. I'd be curious about your answer. her question is, we sometimes wonder how we can or should differentiate from the COA website. They talk about programs too. Should we avoid things that they have on their website? What is our product and what is theirs? We struggle with this.
I would answer the question to basically say, what are your organizational goals? And how can you articulate objectives that support your goals in support of your Council on Aging, but goals that are yours? And then what are the specific action items that you would want to take to support those goals? And that basically should dictate what is on your website. If that's a little bit too fuzzy, maybe David could say a little bit more about, the plan that, he spent a lot of time talking about and how that should inform, the strategy and the web content.
Okay.
Right, Billy, absolutely. I think, in some views I've had of not only the relationship between Friends and COA and Friends it has to do with, I think, how that relationship is cultivated more than anything. And in a sense, this quote that we put up here is apropos. The good we can do together surpasses the good we can do alone. So to the extent that the Friends group views itself and its mission as a support mechanism for the work of the COA, in some cases we've seen Friends group, and I think even in some of the examples you provided, Barry, of work we've already done, the Friends group actually links to the COA website. And that would be under the guise of saying, yeah, we're here to support the participation in the COA and to support their programs in a number of ways, not just financial. So I think there's any number of ways that can be addressed, but I think by having that effort to plan for the plan, to do the strategic plan for your 501c3, the Friends of the COA, the answer to that question will become obvious to you once you've gone through the process.
Yeah. Barry, P. St. George's is asking if you can go back to a slide with the links on it. I don't know if that's going to be enough information to go. Oh, hopefully that's hoping that's the one. Looks like it would be. And I'd like to invite Grace and then Robert to unmute and ask their questions.
Hi, Grace O'Donnell from NATIC. Just to back up what Barry and David were saying in response to the question on what should be on the Friends website as opposed to the COA website. Keep in mind, each organization is a separate entity. The Friends organization is a 501c3. They are the fundraising tool, essentially, of most COAs. So the Friends website should really be talking most about their stewardship, their fundraising efforts, their volunteers, and they're welcome to mention what's happening at the COA, which is why people should want to become a member of the Friends, because they're supporting all these great programs of the COA. But the difference is this Council on Aging runs most of the programs at the Councils on Aging. The Friends are raising the money and in some cases generating the volunteers to help those programs run. So that's where the distinctions come.
I like that, Grace. Thank you. Robert, would you like to ask your question?
Bob, you're muted still.
Okay. I'd like to just let you know that when we did our website working with Barry's been a great help getting us set up and working with us. We really didn't know a lot of how to do this, and he really helped us to use the tools and things that we had in our hands to actually do it. And we also put a notice out on multimedia, and we had a person that came to us and wanted to help out, to help the community, and he was familiar with WordPress and some of the tools that we had to work with. So he kind of helped us also. We did link our website to the COA, and how we did it is we wanted to make sure that people understood, what we do and what the COA does. And so our link, like I say, people want to see what's going on at the COA, they can. And people on the COA website also has a link that will link them to the Friends site for fundraising, for membership, for donations. So we just work together and keep the website running and keep it updated. And that's, I guess Barry will probably say the same thing. That's the most important thing, is keeping it updated, not letting it get stale or old.
Yeah.
And that takes some work, and really letting them see some of the fundraising things that we do. Really, and we also, you mentioned in the presentation before about having donors that that you thank and do some things for the donors. Okay, we went down one of the bus lines that we use. We've used them for years now. It's a family operation, and they've really worked very closely with us to try to keep their costs down, so that we were able to make some money, donations, if you will, on the bus trips that we had for the casinos. And they were we did a plaque for them, and we went down to visit. The treasurer, myself, the president at the time, he couldn't make it, he was ill, but we went down there. They were so appreciative that I just can't believe it, how they took us around and showed us things and about their business, about their operation. And it really, really helped us build a real nice relationship with them. And we invited them to our new facility when it opens up, the new COA excuse me, COA home, if you will. But anyway, the websites, it's not easy. There's a lot of tools. There's a lot of videos that are available that you can query on and get if having problems in certain areas. You can watch the video. It goes through and shows you what you need to do. But you really need to have a couple of people that can understand and work on it if you don't know anything about it. So that's all I really wanted to say. And thank Barry. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Bob. I
Yep.
didn't know you were going to be on the call today until I saw you there. And it's
Oh, right, Barry, you didn't pay him to be there?
No,
I'm sure he's going to ask
No.
he's going to ask me to settle up afterwards, but no, there's not.
Yeah, I gotta settle with him already.
I think you owe him
Okay.
dinner out now.
Okay, thank you very much.
Barry, another question for you is, how many people are on your team?
So I'm a one-person shop at the moment, but I have access to other resources if I need to subcontract out some things, which I haven't needed to do. But depending on the demand, for this offering, might need to do that. But I would be the primary contact with the groups who'll be implementing Friends websites.
Great. Are there other questions? Anyone I've missed? I'm not seeing any raised hands and
I'm
tried to
seeing
go
it-
through the chat.
I'm seeing a question about donor advised funds and monthly donations. Let me just swap the screen that I'm sharing. And this is a donation form that I had done for a different nonprofit, but they basically, specifically wanted the ability for recurring donations. So this is their donation form. And they also wanted, the ability to donate through donor advised funds. So these kinds, if you identify that these are things you want to do, there's flexibility in how your donation form is customized to meet your needs.
I think it's great that you have the functionality of permitting donors to make recurring gifts.
Yeah. And and on this form, it's also set up so that it's either done via credit card or done via PayPal.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Peg has a question to me, and Peg, I'm not really sure. You're asking me about the use of, I think, constant contact. And I think that, as I recall, Robin indicated that one way to keep track of donors might be through constant contact, which is a graphic, like sort of e-news platform in which you can create newsletters that are distributed to groups. I wouldn't have thought of using that myself for a donor list, but it's not a bad idea as a communications tool for your donors if you want to be generating reports. And so, Robin, I don't know if...
And can I just jump in with a quick point to that?
Yeah, please.
The donation form on the website can be connected to Constant Contact or MailChimp if you decide you're going to be maintaining your database there, or at least your email list there, so that, and the information about the donation would then be visible on Constant Contact or MailChimp if they came onto the list through the donation form. So that those things can be tied together through the form on the website.
Oh, wow. Robin, did you want to add something about
No,
that?
I was gonna say, that's great that Barry can do that, so, that's huge, so.
Yeah, it does seem incredibly good.
And I think, Barry, you can then export the information, like the donation, you might want to export it to another, like Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, anything captured by the forms, whether it's donation form or the contact form, all those entries can be exported.
Yeah.
And you can also, export things that might have, you can export from PayPal or from your
Right.
credit card pay. Yeah, so there's a variety of ways to move data from one place to another. You just need to be clear about which platform will be working for what things that you're doing.
Mindy, do you want to ask your question?
I do, thanks. Barry, so if we decided to go with your website package, do we then own that software? Can we modify and maintain it ourselves, or are we tied to always going through you?
If you had, well, I mean, Bob can speak a little bit, that he had recruited somebody to work with him on the Norton website who had some WordPress experience. And that person worked with them to do a good chunk of the content creation. And then they just kind of called me in on some things at the end that they couldn't figure out how to do on their own. In terms of ownership of the software, it depends on the type of change that you would want to make. But I have no objection to, enabling, if I'm supporting the overall platform with your site in it, And we can make modifications to the software in a way that it doesn't affect other people using the platform, then I don't have an issue with that. We would just, and does that answer the question? And then in terms of ownership, if you wanted to migrate the site somewhere else out of the hosting environment that I'm providing, you probably could do that. The only thing you couldn't really take with you is the domain name that's tied to the friendscoa.org domain. But
Okay, so we're really, if we go with you, we're really kind of, it's under your umbrella and
it's under my umbrella, but again, it depends on what you wanted to do to get out from my umbrella.
I don't know that I want to leave your umbrella, Barry. I just,
Yeah, no,
as a designer and developer myself, I always worry about a one-person shop.
Right,
If something
yeah.
happens to you, where might
And
the
I understand the concern. Yeah, so I understand the concern, and it's reasonable to be raising the question.
All right, thanks.
So, oh, I got.
Mindy, do you wanna? No, okay. I am not seeing additional questions right now. You have a chance. I want to point out that anyone who registered, so you will receive automatically an email that you're going to get more than one follow-up email, and you're going to be getting one that has a link to an evaluation form. And I also just shared that link in the chat. If you are, sometimes it's nice, like, strike while the iron is hot, while you have, a fresh notion of whether or not this was useful to you. So I just invite you to go ahead and fill that evaluation out whenever you like, but you will also receive that in an email. And then another follow-up email will be coming that will include a link to the video of this presentation, as well as some documents on gathering your thoughts around some of these projects and strategic thinking, and how to begin to clarify your goals around having a website were you to go that route, or maybe even improve or change what you've got. And so I just want to give folks another, would you like another, does anyone else have any lingering questions that we haven't gotten to that you would like to voice right now?
Well, Haley, I just want to say how much we enjoyed offering this to your groups, and I hope that we have accomplished our objective to educate, inspire, and above all, motivate. There's a lot that can be done through the works that you do to support the communities, the older adult communities that we all serve and certainly want to see thriving. And we know that because of the MCOA, all of the COAs are in good hands. And by virtue of looking at this group around the room here that we're in today, I think the Friends groups are definitely in good hands as well. So thank you for your attendance. Thank you for your interest and your questions. And we were happy to be part of this today with you.
Thank you. Thank you, David and Barry and Robin. I learned a lot, and I feel like you just gave a very valuable and succinct summary of some really powerful ideas that friend groups can use, whether they use it a lot or a little of what you had to say. There's much material was shared that is incredibly relevant. Thank you.
I think Peg Davis, I think, is raising her hand. Haley.
Okay. Peg, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question. I'm not seeing that.
Thank you, Haley. I appreciate everyone's time. I would love to see a follow-up to this because it's so much information to process. And I would also love to see if you have printed materials about it, just to
Yeah.
kind of stay on track.
You'll definitely receive the printed materials. I can't promise a follow-up until, you know, a year from now, to be honest, in terms of MCOA activities and our programming schedule. But it's very gratifying to know that this was very valuable to you. And I think that the materials that are provided as a follow-up will be a really great roadmap for moving ahead.
Okay. And maybe some contact names at MCOA?
Well, MCOA is not, this is a little awkward, but so MCOA serves councils on agings and it doesn't councils on aging, but it is not a membership organization for the Friends Group per se. This program is something that I think David is the sort of key architect for, and we recognize the value, but on an ongoing basis, we cannot act as specific support for Friends members.
I get it.
Okay, thanks for understanding. Michael?
Yes, thank you. I agree with the previous comments about this being excellent. Do you know why there is no equivalent to the Mass or the National Council on Aging for the Friends? I'm relatively new to this, along with my fellow officers, and it seems amazing to me there can be such interesting synergy between these groups, and there's no organization to the equivalent for the Friends that I've been able to find at any rate. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, you're right. There is no national or even statewide trade organization that is for Friends groups. As to why, I don't know. It hasn't evolved. I guess someone needs to start that nonprofit now.
Yeah, we've got enough on our plate. I don't think I'll be doing that anytime soon.
Okay, you're not going to take it on,
It's
Michael.
certainly
All right.
worth thinking about. Thank you so much.
Sure thing.
Grace. I might add, just follow up on what he just said. Maybe the MCOA can try to educate the COAs on what the Friends do, and come at it that way, because we do have challenges, I think, with that, with understanding the roles of the two and between us. And it would be nice if the MCOA would address that more with the different COAs. Thank you.
Yeah. What I think is happening is that there is a guide that's in the works that is specifically addresses exactly what you're saying, that differentiates the organizations and tries to clearly kind of define the boundaries and the independence of the Friends, but also emphasizing the mission of the Friends. And that's and I know that it's not always, sometimes it's a bit of a rocky road. But I agree with you that MCOA could definitely have an instrumental role in helping to clarify and educate around that. So I'll take that back, because you're not the first. That there's been a theme about that in the chat, and I think we could, evolve and work with that recommendation.
Right.
So
Thank you.
Roberta, I see your hand is up, but Grace's, I think, was up first. So I just want to invite Grace. If you can hear me and you want to unmute and ask your question.
Just a quick response to Michael's message. I think when Barry is able to get more Friends groups on this website, Friends COA, that may evolve into someone then taking it on to become some sort of group that the Friends then have a membership of, similar to how the Councils on Aging have this association of the Massachusetts Councils on Aging. And I think it will benefit the Friends groups to have a clearer idea of what their roles are, how they might be able to help one another, just as the Councils on Aging. We serve as very much a collaborative kind of association with one another, directors sharing successes and things that are challenges. I think the Friends can do the same kind of thing, but it will take someone from the Friends side of things to organize that and make that possible.
Yeah, exactly. Roberta?
I just have a question. If a friends group has some questions, the only person we could go to is the Attorney General?
I would say they could actually contact another friends group. But be careful because you don't necessarily know if the friends group you're reaching out to has a clear understanding of their role. So, you know, you make sure you're checking people.
Are there any laws of, any way that, I mean, another friends group may not know what we want, and we do have some questions and nobody to answer them.
Well, Roberta, there are rules and regulations and laws regarding the way 501c3s operate as tax exempt organizations. And in a couple of places in the chat, and maybe I can find it again, you could do a search on the IRS website and they will have some clear rules about how a mission-driven nonprofit organization, you know, must abide. I think, and there might be more to it than financial, but
yeah, okay.
That's the broadest overview. And I think that maybe your questions are a little more getting into more likely relational in terms of maintaining, you know, sort of a healthy, good boundaries, but nonetheless mutually supportive relationship with your COA.
Right. Okay. I'll try to, I mean, there's no booklet or no anything like
Well,
that.
what I hope is that MCOA is going to be developing one. I have a colleague named Donna Popkin. I've referred a couple of you in the chat to her, or I'm gonna take. In fact, I'll add your name to the list, Michelle, Roberta, and ask her if she can be in touch about her insights as a longtime director about the way to the healthiest way to develop the relationships and her understanding of the roles.
Thank you, Haley.
Sure. Michael?
Yeah, I just want to respond to Roberta's opening statement. We have a lot of experience in our group, even though we're relatively new, with the Attorney General's office, with the Secretary of State's office, with the Department of Revenue. And I can tell you almost unequivocally, they will not get involved in any of the business of the organization unless there is a major fiduciary fault or failure and somebody wants to file a complaint or something like that. We had a situation where we made an inquiry about an outgoing administration and our incoming administration, and they referred us to legal counsel. So get your checkbooks out or get a member who's got that capability if you've got some issues beyond organizational ones and so forth. So I think what the Mass Council on Aging is doing, and Donna Popkin and this guide that we've heard about is one of the best things we've heard about in quite some time, and it's long overdue to help guide all of these diverse organizations. Many of which have been around. When you think about it, they've been around for decades.
Yes, that's a great point. Yes, long-standing.
And in our situation, we had a 10-year period of dormancy. Technically, according to the bylaws, the organization should have been dissolved, but it wasn't because of the amount of funds that were on hand. And so some caretakers took over to help preserve things, and thankfully it got restarted with the efforts of a local director of the Council on Aging. To get the membership up and running and get volunteers, but don't expect a lot from the state is all. They're very helpful, and we've had some great discussions with them, but they won't get involved unless there's a failure of the organization to meet its legal obligations.
No, these are recent problems. I've been on the board since 1990, and we had no problems. They are developing, they're not getting any easier or better. And that's why, and I don't want to start anything with the higher authorities or money paying out. And we have enough money. We have plenty of money. We do not have to fundraise because in the 1990s, we used to send buses out and we made big money then. And we have that money and we just, we want to know what to do with it legally.
Mhm.
And, you know, we have our problems, and I just thought maybe there was some kind of a committee or a board or something that you could go to ask these questions to help you out of your situation.
Hmm.
But thank you for your advice. Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome. Incidentally, there are legal organizations that have extensive experience working for nonprofits of all sizes, ones that go up into the millions and ones that work in the thousands. And they offer special rates. And I put that in quote because some of you may be shocked what those special rates are. But you get what you pay for, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Well, it's nearly 5 o'clock, and I think that it's time to close. And I just really want to thank you all for being here. It seems like this was a really valuable opportunity, and I think you can give yourself a round of applause for availing yourself of it and, you know, taking the time to really kind of dig into some of these opportunities and also issues. And so I've, you know, got some homework, and we'll be back in touch with you with some follow-up materials. Thank you.